Hey everybody, my name is Dan and this is Stout Gaming. We are back again with another GLDL matchup. Week 8, we are going up against Flamingo and the Corparu Crab Hammers. I probably just butchered that and I apologize. I could apologize in Australian as well. Hate ya, I ain't gonna apologize, am I? But he's got a pretty interesting team. I really didn't expect the Hitmontop to come this week. So we've got a couple of interesting potential things that we're going to be looking at. I think a lot of what I brought is very good depending on what he brings. This looks like a pretty hard Trick Room matchup to me where my Azumarill is going to do really well. And then I also want the Arcanine and either Crocodile or Zapdos likely if he's going for a hard Trick Room setup. My question is, do I want to lead Arcanine or do I want to lead Azumarill? And I think the Azumarill lead is probably safer here. But with that getting locked in, let's go ahead and just get into the battle. Decent quality lead card. I'm pretty impressed, not gonna lie. But as we get into the battle, we can see that he is leading with Togekiss and Stakataka, which basically just screams, I'm going to set Trick Room and you can't stop it. And that's true, I really can't stop it. But in this position, oh, and I see the Stakataka is Air Balloon, so I know never to hit it with a ground move till I've damaged it. So, looking here, I've got a couple different options. I consider guard splitting the Stakataka, which is my little cheeky tech this week, but I imagine he just redirects the Expanding Force away, which makes me really just want to hit this Togekiss as hard as I can, take as much chip as possible, let the Stakataka set up, and play defensively. But he withdraws the Stakataka and sends out Hitmontop. So the Intimidate on the Azumarill is a little annoying, but I'm still going to absolutely chunk this Togekiss. At this point, I think he's probably maxing it, because that's the only reason you make this play. You don't just do that to hit with an Air Slash, and then you've got Togekiss and Hitmontop. That just doesn't make that much intrinsic sense to me, because there's not enough offensive pressure there, even with the Intimidate. And you know that you take a chunk of damage from NDD, and there's not really anything you can do to stop it, because neither of these are threatening NDD unless the Togekiss maxes. So, in this position, my Azumarill is, like, at -1, it's still going to do a lot to everything, and I also know I have Max Knuckle available if the correct time comes for it. That Airstream did a lot more than I thought it would, and it's a crit. So I think this must be offensive crit kiss. So that makes me a little worried, but the Hitmontop takes some damage. The Togekiss takes more damage than I thought, so again, I don't think it's got a lot of bulk on it. And even at -1, Togekiss is really, really beastly. Takes some damage. Now I'm at +1 defense, and I'm looking like I'm in a decent position at this point. I want to follow me to prevent the potential of another crit coming in, because that would be annoying if you crit the Azumarill twice in a row, and I believe it's crit kiss. And then I want to Max Knuckle the Hitmontop spot, because I also know he's got Stakataka in the back, so I'll hit something in that slot. If the fourth Pokemon comes in, it might not be for a lot of damage, but it will take me back up to neutral. But it being the Stakataka is, it's pretty nice for me. And the Togekiss max guards, which I called that as well in that spot. Not as hard, because obviously I still followed me, but I figured there was a chance that he goes for that max guard, which would mean this Max Knuckle is just the best play. I'll go back up to neutral, but he's still got the top and the back, so I will go down to -1 again at some point. But now I'm in a pretty decent position. I can follow me again with the same logic about the Togekiss, make sure the Togekiss goes down with a Steel Strike, or I could knuckle into the Stack Attacker slot, counter any potential switch-in shenanigans, but the extra bulk, in the moment, the extra bulk sounded nice to me, and making sure this Togekiss was gone, given what I had in the back. But a more consistent play was probably knuckling the Stack Attacker slot again. After this Airstream, Indeedee takes a decent chunk, doesn't go down to Sash. And here I get my Steel Spike off. I've got a very bulky Azumarill, a fairly bulky Indeedee as well, but he's going to be able to get Trick Room up here, and I just think I've got the bulk and just enough general damage in the back to beat it. Because I think I'm going to be outbulking him with my Intimidate setter in the back. Doing pretty well. And then I may have screwed up my calc somewhere, because with the speed I thought I had, I thought this underspeeds every Lurantis, but I guess there's the potential that this was Iron Ball Lurantis, which I did not underspeed, but I thought I undersped min speed Lurantis, which I thought was a potential coming out of his setup. So here, I'm split between a lot of moves again. Follow Me seems safest to guarantee get off an attack in case that Stack Attack is able to just KO the Indeedee, but I'm under the belief that I'm going to be able to beat the Lurantis with this attack pretty reasonably. Not beat it, but hit it here, because I still think that I'm going to underspeed the Lurantis in Trick Room. Stack Attacker will get off a Body Press. Indeedee's bulk really helps it out there, but the Lurantis goes before the Azumarill. So I either messed up my calcs with the -1 from what I was expecting, or this has the potential that is the Iron Ball, which would be a little annoying. So with that in mind, what we have out, I think Arcanine is probably safe here. Crocodile probably goes down to the Lurantis, but I'm not sure if that's the worst thing in the world for me. So Arcanine comes out, gets his Intimidate off, which is annoying because I've only got 2 Intimidators left, so that Lurantis is going to get buff. But I don't think anything KOs without being a double up. And if he doubles up into Arcanine with the Lurantis, then I kill it with a Play Rough. And if he tries to split kill, there's a lot of potential for me here. Like, technically a double into the Indeedee might be safe, but he does go ahead and double the Arcanine, which survives because I've got a very bulky Arcanine this week. And that's just about all she wrote, because the Lurantis will go down. The Stack Attacker will go down. And then the Hitmontop in the back has a very, very limited amount of HP, so I'll just throw 200% accuracy moves into it. It doesn't have the ability to knock out both of these things, but it seems like it's pretty straightforward for me at this point to wrap up this game. So I will let it play out, and I will be back for game 2. Okay, so moving into game 2, although I won game 1, I don't think that that same plan works again because I think he goes for a different lead against the Azumarill. I sort of think he leads Hitmontop, so I'm going to lead Zapdos as an attempt to punish it. Of course, this is pretty weak to the Indeedee and the Togekiss lead, but it does beat everything else, which is what I'm going to be going for here, because I think if he leads, for example, Togekiss and Stakataka, this is a very good lead. So, yeah, this is what we're going to go for this time, and we're just going to see how it works out. I think with the sets he's bringing, his Marowak is in a very bad position, and now that he knows I'm Room Service Azu, I confirmed between my audio recording for the first and second game that it was Iron Ball Lurantis, so I am not a crazy person. That means he knows that the Marowak is not going to be better than my Azumarill speed-wise, either in or out of Trick Room at this point. So we are popping right into the battle, and interestingly enough, he sends out the Togekiss and Indeedee, and I immediately know that I'm in trouble. My thought here is my thought process here is incorrect. I know I don't KO the Togekiss if it maxes, but I'm not super worried about the Indeedee's damage because I am AV Zapdos, so it's gonna do a bit with Expanding Force, and I think about my own Expanding Force here. I think about Helping Hand, and I also think about Follow Me to redirect the Togekiss attack because I do expect the Togekiss to survive. Now, what I should have done here is maxed Airstreamed that Indeedee slot, maintained a speed advantage on the Togekiss, and then tried to chip it down because there's no way the Indeedee's what's maxing, is my thought process. Like, the Indeedee has to launch Expanding Force here. But even with this, I should be outspeeding the Indeedee. I can do a chunk to this Togekiss if it maxes, and then I can kill the Indeedee next turn, is my thought process. But if he Airstreams and makes the Indeedee faster than me, then I'm suddenly in some danger. So I definitely had a hard misplay this first turn. But it is what it is. I've got to just figure out a way to work through it at this point. So the Expanding Force comes out, does a decent chunk to Zapdos, but I know it's not a two-shot. Steel Spike comes out, and that really should have been an Airstream. But for some reason I thought that I had a chance that I could make that a two-shot on the Togekiss, but I could not. And then this Airstream comes out into the Indeedee. I should survive it unless it's a crit. But now, the Indeedee's Expanding Force going before the Zapdos actually told me in-game that it's Scarfed, so I'm in trouble. Like, there's not a lot I can do here. I kind of need to sacrifice the Zapdos because now everything outspeeds it, and the Expanding Force will knock out the Indeedee from here. So I can't redirect another attack from this Togekiss. So if Zapdos is in, it just dies for free. So I want to put in Crocodile, let it take an attack, because I think Zapdos is going to be important for late game. But, man, does this feel bad for me. Like, I'll click Expanding Force. I don't expect this Indeedee to launch an attack because Expanding Force off Scarf Indeedee is just going to kill it. But I am already very low on outs for this game, and I think all my outs are chipping away this Togekiss, getting Zapdos in a favorable position, and trying not to let this Indeedee Expanding Force for free. But it's looking rough. It is looking rough. For some reason, I had in my head that this Togekiss was going to Starfall and not Airstream, when Airstream is just obviously the better play there. against the Zapdos that first turn. Like, I thought it would Starfall for whatever reason, but no, Airstream is just obviously better because he likes the Psychic terrain. So here, my thought process is, if I can Snarl stuff down, this Indeedee not going to be doing a huge amount. Then the Togekiss max ends, and then Zapdos might survive something if I can get it in while the Indeedee is not in, which he's got to either switch it out or it'll die here. Or it'll take a Snarl, and then maybe I survive an attack from the Indeedee and the Togekiss, but that's not likely. It's rough all around. Basically, my plan is cheese out a grind, see if I can get some damage rolls in my favor. Just play to an out here, but him switching out probably seals the deal. Because now that he's put the Hitmontop in, I very much am going to struggle to break through the two things that are in front of me. So Krookodile goes down, so I will get a Snarl off, which is nice. He's not going to have a great answer to Zapdos then. Although fast Hitmontop is annoying. But at -1, this Togekiss is not going to KO the Zapdos, so I can at least pick up a kill and maybe position myself for some kind of late game. I'm really grasping at straws here, but this at least lets me get a switch in, and then still probably just lose to the Indeedee. But if I can stall out the Psychic terrain perfectly, maybe. So here, I don't know if Steel Wind or Brave Bird does more to the Togekiss, but I think both are KOs. And even if they aren't... Actually, no. Brave Bird definitely does more here. So, it's probably a mistake on my part. I do survive, which was part 1 of the plan. Here's part 2 of the plan, as I survive that. And then part 3 of the plan is apparently... but Brave Bird also would have killed me. Part 3 of the plan is picking up 2 KOs here, which there's like no chance I'd pick up a KO on a +1 Hitmontop. And then he just gets the Indeedee in for free and it's Scarf and I lose. So yeah, this was a much rougher game, but I do have a plan for how to deal with that game lead in game 3, and I believe that's what he's going to go for. So I'll just cut out here. You can watch this Indeedee end my life, and then I will be right back with game 3. So game 3, I'm assuming he's going to go with the same lead, so I am going to go with my Aurora's lead to get up the Aurora Veil. Aurora Veil plus Assault Vest means Zapdos really actually doesn't worry too much about the Indeedee. Aurora's also has Power Herb Meteor Beam, which will take out most Indeedees unless it is incredibly bulky. And that will also let me have a decent entry point for any of my heavy sweepers in the back. I still think Zapdos is really pretty well positioned, even given everything he's got, because Togekiss doesn't like the Aurora's matchup either. Azumarill seems pretty decent as well. It's really tricky to find the right balance on what to bring, but based on what I thought he'd be bringing, Azumarill and Zapdos seemed like the good sweepers to have, and then Aurorus would put me in good position to use them effectively, and hopefully it would be able to pick up 1 or 2 KOs itself as well. But basically, I'm just going to use my first few turns, hopefully to set some bulk, make some tricky switches. An ideal world, Indeedee goes down at some point on my side, and then I get in Zapdos for free, and I've taken out the Indeedee on his side. That's ideal. Togekiss probably doesn't want to stay in front of Aurorus all that much, so there are a lot of different options here. But I've definitely got to get the Aurora Veil set, and then not knowing if this Togekiss has like a max flare or something, Follow Me would at least allow me to keep the Aurorus alive and switch it in. Like, yeah, I won't get the Aurora Veil up, but I could switch it. I could switch around and get Hail back up again, because I don't want the Sun up in this matchup for a Togekiss with a max flare. But Togekiss is switching out, which is nice for me. And I really considered Expanding Force in here, which I wish I did, because just putting a number on that Hitmontop would have been very, very nice. But I just decided to play it as safe as possible this first turn instead of trying to make a bit of a read, because I thought my lead was better than his lead, so I'm okay with it. His Expanding Force comes out. It's pretty negligible damage. I get my Aurora Veil up, and then I get the free sack on Indeedee by Follow Meing again, and then I can just Meteor Beam his Indeedee, because with the Hail chip, it should definitely take it out. And then Zapdos is 100% free and at a great position. Because even though the Togekiss isn't going to go down in one shot to the Zapdos, it's also not taking down the Zapdos. I mean, if it crits, that's one thing, and it's very annoying, but I still don't think it's a one-shot if it crits. And then I'll have a +1 Aurorus in Hail that after a max Airstream, there's a chance that outspeeds the Togekiss as well. So just launching some free Blizzards in between when I'm faster than it before it uses its max Airstreams. Like, I'll just start absolutely eating up these Expanding Forces, but it's not going to matter because Indeedee's going to go down here, and then his Indeedee is going to go down to this Meteor Beam, and I will be in a great position. So Aurorus goes ahead and charges up the Meteor Beam. Aurorus is the only Pokemon I make shiny. I just think its shiny looks cool. Power Herb comes through, and I miss. So, what did we learn today? We learned that Meteor Beam's accuracy is 90. You will see me pull it up to confirm, like, man, that is annoying. Here, I've basically got to choose how to combat without, and I think Zapdos, maxing it because he can't Cycle Intimidate, and just going for Airstreams and KOs is my best bet, because after one Airstream, I will outspeed that Indeedee again. And I think I want the Aurorus for late game, actually, so I consider Blizzarding here, but I know I just died to Expanding Force. And this Indeedee will outspeed my max Airstream this turn, and it's Scarf, so I'm not going to outspeed it unless I get Aurorus to +2. If I had Protect on it, I might have gone for that here, but I didn't have room to fit it with Haze. I don't even remember what Haze was for. I probably should have had Protect in that slot, but there was some setup option on his team that I wasn't a fan of. Here, I have to pick what to Airstream, and I Airstream the Hitmontop spot because I know that I will outspeed the Indeedee spot next turn, but I do outspeed the Hitmontop spot this turn, so this minimizes damage that I take because I will take it out, only taking the Expanding Force instead of the Expanding Force and something else, and then I will be able to take out the Indeedee next turn with the max Airstream. Like, Indeedee, after this much chip from Hail, there's very little chance that it lives a max Airstream off of Zapdos. So Expanding Force, does, I mean, it's still decent damage, but it's basically negligible damage. That sentence made no sense, but in my head it did. Compared to the damage it could have done, I'm in a pretty good position. Hitmontop goes down, and now I am faster than the Togekiss. This Azumarill has access to Steel Roller, which is gonna absolutely chunk this Togekiss if it comes in. I don't know what he's got in the back, but this feels like a good position for me. Because the Indeedee, I'm double checking a calc, I believe, at this point, but like, yeah, this Indeedee should absolutely go down to this Airstream, and then the Azumarill will be at +2, so it should outspeed the Togekiss before it does a max Airstream, which will give me a bit of flexibility. But I will only be able to get off one Steel Roller, obviously, because of the way that attack works. Here he's going to max the Azumarill. I mean, not the Azumarill. He's going to max the Togekiss in front of the Azumarill, which he basically has to. And on his video, he did have some commentary about the max Airstream play, or about the Steel Roller play. So he sees this coming, but it's still going to hurt him and put me in a position where I can make a call the last turn of the game, which I'm okay with. So Steel Roller comes out. I absolutely chunk that Togekiss, and I think I put it just outside of range for Zapdos next turn. But oh boy, is that close. I kind of thought that was going to go into Zapdos, because if he got a crit, he'd probably win. But instead he gets the crit into the Azumarill. Which, I don't know, that crit might have mattered in front of Aurora Veil. I'd have to calc that. Actually, that crit probably mattered with Aurora Veil. So, with that Hail Chip, I might just be in range for the max Steel Spike from Zapdos to take it out. Man, it's really, really close. I know Airstream does a little bit less damage, but if I don't get the KO, is going to be a slightly safer option. Because at this point, although I think this is Iron Ball Lurantis, I don't have that completely confirmed. And the Togekiss will attack before the Aurorus does, and I don't want it to give the Lurantis a speed boost that allows it to take out the Aurorus. Because I've just got to launch Blizzard here. Like, there's nothing on my end is super complicated around this. So a Steel Spike is close. An Airstream probably doesn't pick up the KO. It's like very little difference, but it's enough at this point that it probably doesn't pick up the KO. Even if it's safer for not picking up the KO. So I just decide to ball out, use my Steel Spike, hope it picks up the KO, and if it doesn't, this Lurantis protecting is great news for me. So now his play here is to have max Airstreamed into the Aurorus, which is safe because he survives that. If he max Airstreams the Aurorus and takes it out and then is outspeeding the Zapdos with Togekiss, he's going to win. Unless Hail takes out the Togekiss this turn, which I don't know. But he doesn't get the crit on the Zapdos. And that means that Aurorus is going to be in position to clean up this game with a Blizzard to take out this Togekiss. And then I can just Brave Bird into the Lurantis next turn. So yeah, it was a really fun set with Flamingo. I recommend you guys check out his video. I'll have it linked below. But I'm really enjoying the league. Starting to pick up some steam, heading towards the playoffs. I've got 2 more matches in the regular season, and hopefully I'll be able to lock up the playoffs by then. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye.